Hey, this is Ozioma, and this is my vulnerability assessment presentation for the hidden server found within our lab. Understanding the assessment scope. This presentation focuses on the high and medium risk findings. It'll detail the critical and significant security vulnerabilities identified during the recent scan of the hidden Linux server. I'll be outlining the nature of these risks, their potential impact, and the steps for immediate and urgent remediation. A quick overview of what this presentation will basically look like will be, it will be split into high and medium severities. So high severities basically is defined as findings that indicate weaknesses that could lead to immediate and severe consequences, such as unauthorized access or system compromise. They demand immediate attention. Then there's also medium severity, and these findings represent significant security flaws that could be exploited to compromise confidentiality, integrity, or availability, also known as the CIA triad. They require urgent remediation. So the first high severity I ran into was the T-Wiki. So the first finding I ran into was the T-Wiki, and this is a cross-site scripting vulnerability. The URL param variable within the T-Wiki is not properly sanitized. This allows attackers to inject malicious JavaScript into T-Wiki pages viewed by other users. This leads to potential session hijacking, theft of sensitive cookies, and the defacement of T-Wiki site, eroding user trust. T-Wiki command execution. Remote command execution vulnerability. The search variable is improperly handled for being used in a Perl eval function. This allows remote attackers to execute the arbitrary Perl code on underlying Linux servers, which leads to complete control over the server with privileges of web server process, enabling data theft, system modification, and further malicious activity. There are ways to remediate this by taking immediate action. First, immediately upgrade T-Wiki. The most critical action it would be to immediately upgrade T-Wiki to version 4.24 or later. This upgrade addresses the input sanitization issues that led to the XSS and command execution vulnerabilities. Failure to upgrade leaves the server highly vulnerable to compromise. The other high severity I found was the ingression backdoor and open gateway. This server listening on TCP port 1524 was identified with a 99% probability as an ingress log backdoor. Ingress log is known for allowing unauthenticated remote command execution. An attacker connecting to port 1524 could potentially execute a command on Linux server without needing credentials. This is a catastrophic vulnerability because it allows for immediate and complete system compromise. The presence of a backdoor often signifies a prior security breach that needs thorough investigation. There are immediate actions you could take to remediate this, which would be an immediate backdoor investigation and removal. The server must immediately be isolated from the network. Identify and terminate the process listening on 1524. You need to conduct a thorough file system analysis for associated malicious files and consider a complete system rebuild from a trusted source. Now we're on to our medium severities. The first one will be weak cipher suites, which is compromising encryption. Weak SSL/TLS cipher suites enabled on port 5432. The SSL/TLS server on TCP port 5432 was found to accept weak cipher suites, including TLS RSA with RC4 128 SHA. Weak ciphers have known cryptographic weaknesses that attackers can exploit to potentially decrypt communication. For this, you have to take urgent action. I recommend disabling the weak cipher suites. The configuration on port 5432 must be updated to disable all weak cipher suites. Only strong modern cipher suites should be enabled. For example, those using AES with GCM. This will ensure confidentiality of data transmitted over this connection. The next medium severity I found was depreciated SSL protocols. SSL/TLS service on port 5432 still supports the outdated SSL version 2 and SSL version 3 protocols. These protocols are well outdated and have well-known vulnerabilities like Poodle and Drown, making the connection susceptible to man-in-the-middle attacks. I recommend disabling SSL version 2 and SSL version 3. SSL version 2 and SSL version 3 must be completely disabled on SSL/TLS service. The configuration should be enforced only to use TLS 1.2 or higher for secure communication. On to the next medium severity, which is weak RSA key. Ensure that the SSL/TLS RSA key length or insecure SSL/TLS RSA key length. The certificate in use has a RSA key length smaller than the recommended 2048 bits. A 1024-bit key was detected, which is way too small. Shorter RSA keys are computationally easier to break through brute force attacks, compromising the security of encryption because it's a faster process to get through. My recommendation is to replace it with a stronger RSA key. The current certificate must be replaced with a new certificate containing a 2048-bit or stronger RSA key. This will significantly increase the security of the encrypted connection. Medium severity finding 4, which was an expired certificate. What I found was an expired SSL/TLS certificate on port 5432. The certificate for the service on port 5432 has expired. This can lead users to receive security warnings, damaging trust in the service. An expired certificate also indicates a potential lapse in security maintenance practice. I recommend replacing the expired certificate immediately. A valid current SSL certificate must be obtained and installed on the server. Implementing automated certificate renewal processes is crucial to prevent future expirations. To conclude, this was basically just a summary of the high and medium risk findings I found within the report. There were a lot more, but these are just the main ones I wanted to tackle on and go over, make a presentation about. The purpose of this assessment was to identify the critical vulnerabilities that require immediate and urgent attention to secure the Linux server. And by heeding to all the recommendations in place, you'll definitely have a more secure server in place. Addressing these high and medium severities is paramount to prevent potential system compromise and data breaches. So what are the next steps? The next steps are remediation. You have to take these steps urgently and immediate. So high severity, the T-Wiki vulnerabilities and the potential ingress log backdoor demand immediate investigation and remediation efforts. And then the medium severity ones include the weaknesses in SSL/TLS configuration on port 5432, which require urgent attention to ensure secure communication. Implementing the recommended fixes will significantly improve the security posture of the Linux server. This is my presentation on the hidden server I found within the lab using the Kali Linux server. Thank you. This is my executive summary. This security assessment of the server at IP address 192.168.130 shows many different vulnerabilities across severity levels. The findings that need most attention are the high severity issues, and these demand immediate attention due to the potential for significant impact, including remote command, execution, and complete system compromise. The presence of a possible backdoor ingress log listening on TC port 1524 poses the most immediate and severe risk. If this backdoor is confirmed, then it will allow for unauthorized remote access across the server and even leading to control of the server. Also found within the assessment is a significantly outdated T-Wiki installation on port 80, which is vulnerable to cross-site scripting and command execution. This can possibly lead to data theft and server takeover. The identification of weak encryption algorithms supported by SSH service on port 22 also elevates this risk of eavesdropping and potential compromise of secure communication. Several medium severity findings further contribute to the overall risk profile. The acceptance of weak cipher suites by SSL TLS server on port 5432, the detection of depreciated SSL version 2 and 3 protocols, the use of SSL TLS certificate with an RSA key smaller than 248, and an expired SSL/TLS certificate. Also, the support for depreciated TLS 1.0, a certificate signed using a weak signature algorithm SHA-1, and the use of insufficiently strong D-Hellman key exchange parameter or Diffie-Hellman key exchange parameters all weaken the security of encrypted communications and could expose sensitive data. Finally, low severity findings, such as the disclosure of information via TCP and ICMP timestamps, and the support for weak MAC algorithms in SSH, provide potential reconnaissance information to attackers and weaken the integrity of SSH connections, respectively. The support for SSL version 3 with CBC cipher suites also presents a low-level information disclosure risk. Poodle.